let's go into the, I'm just going to do a brief overview of just to put us back in the right frame of mind. Certainly.
I don't mean to cut you off again.
No.
I got to be leaving in about 20 minutes.
Okay, you got it. You got me here stuck. Now look, do me a favor. If I haven't gotten to about quarter after, just put your hand up now. Make sure I go down.
Yeah, I got it.
But, So here we are on page 689, man. So just to put us in the right frame of mind so we can really focus in on what it is that we're trying to accomplish here, which is to get a better understanding of step number 5, I want to do a slight review. Let's look at page 89. Now, step 5 reads as follows. Admitted to what? God is the second aspect of it, to ourselves, and the third aspect is to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. And then what you want is, and I like the way they have, I call it the power passages, right up under the step itself. It provides us with a power passage. And I like to say that gives us the foundation. You know what I'm saying? It sits us up like a car sitting up on rims. You know, this power passage put wheels to the step. You see, we can roll now. You follow what I'm saying? It gives us a solid foundation to build upon, the power passage. Now, normally when we do NAAA or recovery program, we just deal specifically with the step itself. You follow what I'm saying? But the beautiful part about this is that he gives us power passages to put wheels on our recovery, so we can roll out, and that's what's expected. You know what I'm saying? That we can travel. Right. We can travel to the destination where we're gonna really begin to benefit from our recovery plan and really get to establish a recovery plan. So again, I just want to bring that out. You may ask, well, why do we have power passages up under it? And that gives us the power to roll out, to move out, right, to really be beneficiaries and of the recovery program. Now here's the power passage. It comes from the book of James, chapter 5, verse 16, and it says, therefore. And I like the word therefore. When you see therefore anywhere, you want to know, why is it there? Therefore, why is it there? And it's therefore, when we say therefore, we're bringing in every step that we've done up to now. Step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Therefore, okay, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that, here's the reason you want to do it, that you may be healed. Now, obviously, there's some healing going on. There's some healing about to occur. But before you can be the recipient or on the receiving end of any healing, you got to understand, when you go to the doctor just don't say, sit there, man, and we're going to work with this. What the first thing he asks you when you go to the doctor? Where it hurt at? Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Man, I can't remember. I can't call it classically, but I know all of us remember or have heard it at one time or another. It happens rarely, where you go to the doctor and the doctor maybe perform a function on you that was supposed to be done on somebody else, because he depended on the medical chart. Are you following what I'm saying? So what you've got to do is, God is in the business of healing, and the only way that he can really heal us, one of the most important ways, is that we be honest in terms of expressing and developing our relationship with God into the point where it's actually a friendship. And how do we do that? In terms of step 1 through 4, we've actually honestly and openly shared with God our feelings and our emotions, and now we can be helped, healed, as well as delivered. Are you following what I'm saying? We established where the power comes from, but here's the short of the long. He says that you may be healed, and we know we need healing as a result of some of the issues that we've discovered in steps 1 through 4. Now we're going to go a little bit further in terms of the mechanics or the theory aspect of step number 5, and I'm just going to again scratch the surface just to bring us up to abreast where we are right now, to the point where we are. It says, it talked about a house being shut up, and then of course it went into a little bit detail of describing a house that's been shut up, and it talks about mold and mildew and a bad foul smell. And then it talks about, as we go a little bit further, we reviewed that in those conditions, we can't wait to open up the doors to such a house, okay? And it talks about the ghostly feelings, you know, and hovering over it. And then we talk about opening up, allowing light to come into those dark, dusty corners of a house that's been closed up. And why? Because it sweeps out the demons of darkness and the shadow. And you know what? I want to review something to you. And see, here's another one of the issues that I want to bring to you in terms of the why it's relevant, and it's important that we have an understanding of spiritual aspect, a spiritual understanding of how to apply and how to utilize the steps so we can actually become the beneficiaries, and we can start to get some of the rewards that recovery has to have. When we're talking about getting some of the demons out of, man, when you're talking about demons, you just can't do that but just by speaking it and it happen. Are you following what I'm saying? Can anybody identify with the fact where you say, I don't know why I act like I act?
Yeah.
Don't act, you tell me and we both will know. You follow what I'm saying? However, I'm gonna hit you with something that I'm gonna give you a bit of information where it's actually mentioned. I want to say where God actually deals with effectively in terms of through people and His Word actually getting rid of or removing that demon aspect from you. And I refer to Matthew chapter 10, and it says 10 verse 1. It says, this is what He actually told the disciples. He targeted them towards demons. Listen what He says. And when He had called unto Him His 12 disciples, He gave them what? Power. We need power in terms of dealing with those issues that we discovered from step number 1. And what did He give them power? Now we have power. We're actually disciples in terms of that recovery program, able to go out and do a good work to get the rewards and benefits of recovery. But here's what He gave them power to do. He said give them power against what? Unclean what? Spirits. And so some of us, all of us, if we're honest with what we dealt with in terms of step 1 through 4, we don't know why it's happening in terms of us being separated, but there are some serious unclean spirits, some behavior patterns that we need to get rid of. And in the absence of having the power from God in terms of doing, we're not going to be effective in terms of getting rid of those unclean spirits. But then he goes on a little bit further. He says there are some other things. He says, why? To cast them out. You can identify them. Yeah, I'm like this, but what are you going to do about alleviating and get rid of them? God actually gives you power to cast them out in a disciple type of way. Are you following what I'm saying? But it's only in your connection with Him. Then he goes a little bit further, and then guess what he says? He says, and to heal all matter of sickness. Now, we just got through talking about in the step in James, we talked about being healed. Are you following what I'm saying? Then we go a little bit further. And he says all manner of sicknesses, and that takes in everything from steps 1 through 4, and all manner of diseases. Now, I could really get a little bit further into the diseases aspect of it. How many of us can actually admit that we were involved in intimate situations that while we was high, if we hadn't been high, there's some women we probably wouldn't have laid with, or some situations. Now, I don't want to get off into that really, really deep. Are you following what I'm saying? So when it says healers of all types of manners of diseases, and we got stuff out here, man, that it's almost unincurable. And whether we record it or not, I got to say it. A lot of us were STDs, some diseases, although those ain't the only ones. Are you following what I'm saying? That had we not been under the influence, are you following what I'm saying? We wouldn't have been exposed to that. However, if we go a little bit deeper than that, if we go over to Matthew chapter 13, and here's my point in terms of us needing spiritual power to get rid of what we call demons is what we're about to deal with. Okay, we go to let's go to Matthew chapter 12 and verse 45. How many guys remember this? They say when you relapse, you always come back worse than what you were when you. Right. I know I did it a couple times and it never got better for me. I was thoroughly convinced. Once I relapsed a couple times, I said, man, I'm not going through that whole situation, that whole cycle of recovery again. And it always got worse for me when I got back out there. But here's the point. In times when he talks about those demons that we actually got inside of us, those unclean spirits that we've acknowledged existed, having did a review of steps 1 through 4. Let's look at this one. He says in Matthew 12, verse 45. And he says, then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other what? Spirits. It only gets worse. Are you following what I'm saying? Spirits, we talking about, we got some stuff in us, man. 7 spirits, what? More wicked than himself. And enter in and dwell there. And the last state, when you finally come back, of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto the wicked generation. Are you following? So you can take a chance if you want to and go back out there and get high. But I can guarantee you this, when he talks about once we observe what we're dealing with in terms of our pattern of behavior, promiscuous and wicked spirits, and just totally contrary to totally contrary to dealing with our recovery program and benefiting from it as we should, we can actually, once we go out, it always gets worse. It doesn't get any better. But anyway, let's go down to the next paragraph. And he talks about opening up the doors of our lives. And he made the comparison. He says our lives are like closed up houses. And he talks about, on page 89, embarrassing behaviors and what have you. And then he talks about we're afraid to open up our doors for fear of being found out and rejected and made ashamed. However, step 5 is the emergent step. We move over to page 90. We're actually coming out. As Diana Ross said, I'm coming out and I want the world to know. We're coming out. We're about to make some major contributions in terms of our lives being better. Now we look on page 90, and it talks about working step 5, and it says we come eye to eye with ourselves through reciting our inventory, looking at our inventory, examining our inventory, sharing our inventory. Then we go down to preparing for step number 5. And he said God helps us in completing this step in terms of prayerfully searching for another human being to share this with. And then, of course, we go down to the prayer aspect of step number 5. And he talks about admitting our wrongs to another person. My inventory actually shows us who we are, and we need God's assistance to assure me and to be with me in this step. And without him, we can't progress in terms of our recovery. So we pretty much covered most of step number 5. Let's look at page 92, and then we're going to get into the power passages of it. In terms of telling our story, let's go to the top. It says admitting our wrongs begin in step 4. And of course, I'm hammering that because I don't want you to think that you can just put down what you've done up to this point. It's necessary that we be mindful and observing of all these steps, including step number 4. It says in step number 5, we constantly admit our wrongs. And why? It increases our self-esteem. And that's important. We go down to the next paragraph. It says, in the middle of it, it says step 5 is our pathway out of isolation and loneliness. And of course, we go down to the next paragraph, and it says we will unveil parts of our nature that we have had concealed. And instead of concealing it, we're actually revealing it in step number 5. And then we talked about how it's essential to take this important risk and confess our wrongs. And it's risk. How many guys know if you put up big, you're gonna win big? And so it's a heck of a risk, but the benefits outweigh the risk in terms of doing step number 5. And then he talks about giving us guidelines on how to choose a person to share our inventory with. And he talks about we have to admit our wrongs. And we go down to the next PowerPoint, which is at the bottom of page 90. And he talks about, again, praying and calling on God and asking the Spirit to guide us. And as we go a little bit further on page 93, and I'm kind of going a little fast so we can get to the power passages. He talks about we thank God for giving us the tools to allow us to do step number 5. Hey, brother. And then we go down and we talk about also we got to balance it by congratulating ourselves for even getting this far. And on page 93, at the bottom, he says we want to pick somebody that has the image of Christ, somebody that you admire. These are the qualifications of someone you want to share your personal experiences with that would help us come to know the depth of God. Now, here we are on page 94. This is where we at. Good to have you in here, brother. You want to sign in? Yeah. Do me a favor, pass this over to my brother here. And did I drop that?
It's right there. Chair.
It's in the chair? Right beside me. Okay, beautiful. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Now here's my point. We're at what we call the power passages or the spiritual aspect of it. And the point that I made earlier for you men that weren't here earlier is that when we're talking about, there's 2 aspects of this. One is the step itself. And but the step just can't work by itself. It needs a foundation to build it upon, or we need power to carry that step out with. And of course, right beneath the step, in terms of step number 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Beneath that is a power passage, and that step actually sits on the foundation and the power that's available for us to carry it out through the power passage, and that comes from James chapter 5, verse 16. Therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. There's some healing that we're expecting to happen in various areas of our lives. And what are those areas in our lives where we're expecting the healing to occur? we've identified those areas by doing steps 1 through 4. So now we go on a little bit further. What are some other spiritual tools that God gives us to work step number 5? Let's look at page 94.